For as long as we can remember, human beings have had heads. Quite the useful thing to have too, as it carries our brains. Fun fact, the brain is the only thing to have ever named itself. While you're pondering over that one, I want to tell you a story. The story of how I got my head blacked out and escaped from Tarkov several times over the first couple days of this new wipe. Getting your head blacked out in Tarkov is a somewhat rare occurrence, and since it happened 4 freaking times on the first 2 days of the wipe, I thought I'd turn it into a video. It was a perfectly normal day on Shoreline. I spawned in, checked the seats of the bus for any leftover pocket lint, then broke into someone's home. Didn't see anything I liked, so I moved on to the local hardware store. They had a sale on pliers, so I grabbed some. On my way home from the store, I ran into a couple of the town hooligans. After a quick scuffle, they realized the error of their ways and died. I spent quite some time in this town. In all seriousness, my objective here was to loot anything and everything. This was day 1 of the new patch, and everything was valuable. The Shoreline town is notorious for having things, and things it had. Sometime during my all-you-can-loot buffet, I crouched right next to this dumpster to loot the hidden cash. While I was rummaging, the unthinkable happened. Some asshole started shooting at me. He missed every shot though, until he didn't. I quickly got down on the ground for cover, so I had time to assess the damage. It wasn't looking good. He had shot me right in the old noggin. As quickly as I could, I started poking myself in the arm to try and stop the head from bleeding anymore. Even with all my years experience as a gamer, I couldn't save the head in time. It bled down to 0 HP, and that was it. I'm not really sure what the real life equivalent is to having a 0 HP head, but yet still being able to move around and function normally. I'd like to imagine it feels like that time I went inner tubing down a river, flipped over and hit my head on a rock, then got very confused while walking back to my car. Pretty sure I got a concussion that day. Also not sure though. Can't really remember. Anyways, I got up and ran away from my problems. Started looting more in hopes that the bad guy would just leave me alone, then found a car battery. Something I desperately needed to get out alive with. I kept moving through town away from the shooter and eventually left it. This was several minutes after my first encounter with the guy. I was quite heavy and couldn't move around all that fast. Built up my stamina, then ran to the next buildings over. At this point, there were gunshots all around. I was mentally preparing myself for the long journey ahead. I knew this wouldn't be easy. Getting all the way across the map with this loot, without dying? Only moments into my trek, I ran into who I can only imagine was the guy who shot me in the first place. After what seemed like the longest shoot-off in Tarkov history, neither of us were able to take each other down. I decided the best course of action was to put my head down, whatever bit of it was left, and charge the enemy, hopefully catching him off guard. While I was doing this, God decided enough was enough and dehydrated me to death. Our next story begins on customs. This time, I brought my friend Geeksay with me, because 2 heads are better than 1. I checked the van near spawn and found the 310 key laying in the seat. Score 1 for me. I brought a shotgun with me this time because I thought it would be fun. Current me can tell you now that this was not fun that I had, but pain instead. However, me in this video is blissfully unaware of this, and still thinks the shotgun was a good idea. We wandered around for a bit, looting here and there, stopping to smell the flowers along the way. We eventually made our way across the river and I ran into a scav. Then the scav ran into his grave. We ran into a few more locals and exchanged some bullets with them. We finally made our way into construction, where we started hearing strange noises. The strange noises started shooting at Geeksay, and I started shooting at them. After painting the wall red, I lost visual on the enemy. I bolted towards the top of the tower and spotted him once again. It's here you really get a sense for just how much the shotgun was not working for me. No matter how many times I thought I was dead on, he just wouldn't go down. He eventually popped one right into my head, and I backed off to heal. We started getting pushed by scavs on the other side, and things got a bit hectic. I apparently forgot I was leaking brain matter and lost my head before I could heal it. Geeksay exploded and left me all alone in this strange world, but not before taking down the enemy we were fighting. I went over to see what goodies the man Geeks had killed had left for me. An M4 of course, and some pretty good armor. At this point, I got paranoid that someone else was nearby, spent the better part of 5 minutes looking around, and eventually found the source of my paranoia, and took it out. I finished picking apart the bodies nearby and decided it was time to get the heck out. So I made my way to the closest extract, old gas station. It wasn't open, but someone had left some pretty good loot inside for me. I then started to make my way to ZB012, the next closest extract. Surely it had to be open. It wasn't. So plan C, which was my first choice anyway, ZB011. It's always open, so it couldn't deny me, like the CC's pizza buffet did when I tried to take a tray of brownies home. This was different. We got what we wanted and survived the round. We opted to bring our buddy Crayson into the next run on Woods. If you're going to Woods, he's the guy you want to go with. A beautiful day on Woods it was. So beautiful, I decided to use this shot as the thumbnail for this video. We made our way to the Emercom camp and browsed all it had to offer. Found a strange new item and ate some canned fish. We found the inspiration for the TV show Lost and then met up with Geeksay. Finished a quest by killing this scav, then a scav finished all of my head's HP by shooting it. Once again, I had survived the impossible, and came out of it with only slight brain damage. I found this really cool revolver shotgun on one of the scavs, used it to help Crayson take down another scav, and then we kept on down the hill. What happened next was completely unexpected. I got shot in the head, as well as a few other body parts. I shot back, harder, better. I survived once again, only losing the most vital part of the human body, the old noodle. I looted up as well as I could with heavy head trauma, then we moved on, crossed the Great Plains, and found ourselves at camp. The boys looted up and got their quest done while I sat around drooling in the corner. Instructor Crayson taught me a few important survival tactics that I'll probably never forget, and then we started heading towards the extract. Some amount of hiking and Tom Petty later, we found the extract, and I managed to survive once again. The epic conclusion to our story about heads happened the next day when I was solo on Woods. The run started out perfect. I spawned near the town. Then we went inside the graphics card house to loot. I found this vase laying under the bed, it's a rare loot spawn under there if you didn't know, and kept on. Suddenly, a second home invader broke in and I had to teach him a lesson. This was only the beginning of the onslaught that was coming next. Another scav got a mouthful of justice right after showing me just what it means to be a vegetable. I started using up the IFAK I brought with me real fast. All of the commotion had stirred up enough of a ruckus to attract another player. Luckily, I heard him before he knew exactly where I was. I waited until he got into a fight with a scav, then got into position, popped my SKS off, and Tom Sawyered that fence with the motherfucker's fruit punch. I breathed a sigh of relief and went to staple my arm back onto my body. More and more scavs rolled up, and I put them down one by one, eventually switching to the revolver shotgun that I had picked up. This town wasn't big enough for the two of us. It wasn't even big enough for the one of me, so I left. Here's where things start to get a little spicy. See, in that last village expedition, I used up all of the meds that I brought with me. Not really a problem right now, but it would be a problem later. And by later, I mean right now. I started bleeding. I must have stepped on a blade of grass wrong. It was now problem time. I had no way of stopping this bleed. It would drain me of life until I was nothing left but worm food. So now the race was on. Find meds or die. I started running for the nearest place I knew of that could spawn meds, the USEC camps. Popped a baby aspirin and kept on running. Sometime later, and with a lot less blood than I had before, I arrived at the camps and did not find any meds. It was almost true panic time, but not quite yet. I went to the next camp over to check a med box. Pretty good chance at finding something to prolong my lifespan there. Pretty good chance, but not enough of one apparently. No more meds. Also no more head. My chat told me I missed a body. I went around and around following directions from people that were watching the me of 7 seconds ago, and not surprisingly, wasted a lot of time and blood. Eventually found the body, and it looks like this guy's chat had also given him the runaround. He did not have any meds. Okay, now true panic time. I started running for my life towards extract. Lost my leg, which made things 10 times worse because now I couldn't run without losing even more HP. So I started walking for my life. I had remembered there was a med bag in the SUV by the checkpoint I was nearby, so I made one last Hail Mary attempt and went there. I prayed to whatever God you, who are watching this video right now, believes in, and by the grace of that God, found a bandage. At this point, I was closer to dead than I was alive, but I was still alive. So we made our way over to ZB-014 bunker to place my lunchbox and water bottle down for the quest. Completely calm and not at all fearing the scav I saw nearby, I made my way down into the bunker and planted my items. Leaving the bunker, I got ballsy and thought I could snipe the scav. I missed and walked briskly for my life. I took the scenic route around towards the extract to avoid any more unnecessary fights, stapled my leg back on so I could run without taking damage, and steamrolled my Frankenstein ass to the extract. This was honestly one for the books. I didn't think I'd make it half as far as I did, and not only did we survive, but we got our task done too. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you did not enjoy this video, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and remember I do stream at twitch.tv/finestxi, so come say hello sometime. If you guys really enjoyed this content and want to go the extra mile in supporting it, I do have a Patreon page. There you can get early access to the content on both of my YouTube channels. On that note, shout out to the VIP patrons, Nick RSA, Dr. Johan, Calabag, Hughes6707, Jokes with Dad, Def Not Dallas, Moreno, and Willy Boy Wonder. Thank you guys for the support. Anyways, that's enough rambling from me. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.